What's good, everyone? This is Dr. Darko. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so that you're always up to date on the new uploads as well as alerts on this show. The other thing that you can do to help build this community is make sure you leave a comment below. Let us know what you like, what you don't like about the show, and ultimately, let us know who's winning these arguments, because I need to know that I'm beating Renee in these debates. Run the tape.
What's up, everybody?
Late night live from Docs Outside the Box. Because I wanted to talk about this. Renee wanted to talk about this. So there's a Congressman Greg Murphy. He put out a tweet yesterday, the 28th. And he says the number one reason for MD shortage is med schools admitting students who aren't going to practice. Only 60% of med students today plan on practicing clinical medicine. Med schools need to focus on admitting students who want to take care of patients, not just get their MD. How the hell you gonna do that? But anyway, right?
So he got 60% plan on practicing.
Yeah, so 40, so he says that 40%, basically saying 40% don't plan on practicing. And that's the number one reason why there's a shortage.
At what point are they not planning on practicing? Are they not planning on practicing when they're pre-med? Are they not planning on practicing once they get into med school? Like, are medical schools asking pre-med students, do you plan to practice? And 40% are like, no. And they're admitting them anyway. Where is he getting this statistic?
So,
Dr. Murphy, tell us where you're getting your statistic from. I'd love to hear it.
The thing that's really interesting is he doubled down on it and said it should be mandated that unless disabled, each medical school graduate should have to practice medicine full time for 15 years minimum to refund the federal government for the cost of tuition.
You mean pay their student loans back? I don't get it.
I think that's the one that got people most like, yeah. And
somebody got a free ride to school because maybe mommy and daddy paid. I don't know. Maybe that's the only reason that I can explain. Like, that's the only way I can explain that that he doesn't understand how federal funds might work.
You sure he doesn't understand?
But you'd be surprised.
Record, I looked him up. I looked him up. He was at, I think it was medical school. I think Brody School, whatever it is.
East Carolina.
He's a urologist up until like 2017. And I think he started doing like some nonprofit work or for-profit work. And then obviously now he's a congressman. But yo, some of this stuff has got me like.
He's part of the shortage problem. He's not he should get to work.
There you go.
What you doing in Congress, Dr. Murphy? Get to work.
Unless he's trying to say that he's already done his 15 years.
I don't care because listen, so 15 years is an arbitrary number. Right? What if we actually need all doctors to continue working for 25 years? I'm proposing 25 years, Dr. Murphy. What you got on that? I think you should go back, leave Congress, and go back to work. We need a lot of urologists. We got urologist shortage.
So this obviously is problematic.
Troll.
I don't know where he's getting his statistics from. I don't know where he's getting his statistics from. Because if you check Medscape, these numbers don't correlate with Medscape. They're physician surveys, not satisfaction surveys or med school, what you plan on doing afterwards type surveys. So that's really interesting.
Right.
The second part, for me, that's the one where I'm just like, okay, this is either he's just saying this just to piss people off. There's no way he can believe that.
Well, he's not saying it to piss people off. I don't think. I think he has his own agenda, right? Like, listen.
I do think
it's been 9 days.
Technically, he's not part of the, what do you call it? He's not part of the cabinet.
I'm just saying, it don't gotta be part of the cabinet. It just has to be administration driven. It has been 9 days. 9 days, guys.
Of what?
Since inauguration. It's been 9 days since inauguration. Since this administration has taken 9 days. It's been the longest year of my life.
I would say this. I think someone who is as educated as he is, someone who's a urologist, I just have a hard time believing that he truly believes this.
Just because he went to school doesn't mean he's educated.
I don't think he knows. Like, how could you?
Just because you went to school don't mean you're educated.
But if you went to medical school in the United States, what thought process would you ever, like, what part of going to medical school, applying to medical school, paying your loans, or even someone paying your school tuition would you think that like the federal government is paying your
Just
tuition.
because you went to medical school doesn't mean that you're actually educated.
But this is what I'm saying.
It means that you were exposed to education. It doesn't mean that you were actually educated. Okay? Because in order to be educated, then you have to say things that really warrant some merit of education behind it. I just wonder where he is that.
Purpose. I think he's being punitive on purpose.
Of course he is.
Yeah, I think he's like, well, listen, if you don't practice for 15 years, then you have to, the penalty will be you have to pay back all these years in tuition. Like, I think he's saying that on purpose because there's no way that.
But how many people are getting a free ride on the federal government to medical school? Like, let's really talk about that.
Is it a lot or a little? I don't know.
The federal government, like outside of military folks, I don't think there are that many more people, maybe National Health Service Corps, which those people already have a mechanism by which they pay back that
you can't just jump ship. They make it real expensive for you to jump ship.
Because then you have to pay 3 times
so then the
amount.
The second thing that I was thinking was, is he talking about residency? But then
no, but that's not tuition.
But then he specifically said tuition. So I'm like, well, what the hell is he talking about? And that's when I was like, he's just being punitive on purpose, right? That's part of this administration. Like, we're going to be as punitive as possible. We're going to say things. We're going to force you. You're going to either get down. You're either going to go along or you're going to get down, right? And I think that's because I can't see how this could be.
So it's disinformation on purpose.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Because if you confuse people,
I agree.
If you say things that aren't true, right? Like, here's the thing. If you say things that aren't true, even if you come back and retract it, it's too late. The cat's out of the bag. So many people are going to be like, yeah, not realizing potentially that what he said doesn't actually make sense. But it doesn't matter because what he needs is to rile people up so that the next thing that he says becomes the thing that he actually wants people to do. Right? Like, so, this is disinformation on purpose because you can't tell me a physician, a doctor is that stupid that he would actually think that what he said made any sense about, you have to repay the government for your tuition. That's called repaying your student loans. I don't get it. I'm like, who's getting a free ride on the government?
Actually, the government's getting a free ride on you.
Essentially.
The government gets a free ride on you.
Exactly.
You put down all the sweat equity. All they do is just guarantee the student loan.
And with interest.
And then you pay back that student loan in full.
With interest.
So the federal government makes mad money off of this.
Exactly.
Money for them.
Right.
Like I said, the only thing that I can think of is that, when it comes down to residency training, the whole Medicare system pays like half. And then the med school pays the other half for your education as a resident. But the way how you explained it, explain how residency works, like in terms of because you work.
Yeah. So, right. It is illegal in the United States to be employed by somebody and not get paid for the work that you actually are doing. Mm-hmm. Residents are considered employees. They're not considered students. They're not getting money just for education, right? Otherwise, what would be the point of resident unions, which we know that there are several resident unions around the country. So they are employees. They're actually working when they are seeing patients. They generate dollars by seeing patients. So they are actually employees. So you can't say that they would even pay the Medicaid or Medicare dollars that pay for residency salaries. You can't even say that they would pay those back because it's like, well, but then I worked. So therefore you have to pay me.
I'm nervous though. I'm real nervous.
You should be nervous.
Because folks like this, when they start to put out, it's almost like this is like the canary in the coal mine. Like, is someone working on legislation?
Of course they are.
So that something like this happens, I don't know, in the next 4 years or something.
Of course they are.
If you graduate from medical school, and I bet you it'll be like, if you graduate from medical school and you go through residency, if you go through residency and you don't finish, working for 10 or 15 years, that you'll end up paying some type of penalty.
Yeah.
Like that.
I mean, listen, this is what people, I think, need to understand. Like, you are at the whim of whatever administration, whatever leader comes about, right? And so the notion of, we just gotta, it's like, listen, you can fight, you can do all the things you want. But at the end of the day, if an administration wants to see something, there is nothing that you are going to do in order to change a person's mind. Like if is their value may not be the same values that you have. And so we can't fool ourselves into thinking that you will, protest or boycott, or I don't know what else people are planning to do. Get enough names on a piece of paper for a petition or whatever to change people's minds who essentially want to see something done. Very specifically, what you have to be able to demonstrate to that person is the risk benefit ratio, because that's how these people work. Yeah. You have to show them that, listen, if you do this, it will be worse for you because, and usually that because has a dollar sign in front of it.